I started wrestling in high school.
Okay.
I played high school here in Tampa. And so in between summers, I wanted to stay in shape for wrestling because we didn't have a wrestling club.
Okay.
So I had my mom enroll me in a martial arts gym. And I told her, I was like, can you put me in a gym that has like, MMA? Like it was still kind of new at the time, but I had seen Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock fight.
Okay.
And I thought that was pretty cool. So I was like, let me, just jump in there and, stay in shape between summers. And so I joined this, gym called Tiger Schulman's.
Okay.
And
I remember that from when I was a kid.
yeah, so that's kind of where my traditional, I guess, kicks come from. Beginning wise, my coach now, he's a black belt in Taekwondo and he knows a lot of traditional kicks. But I started out there and I loved it. I fell in love with doing the grappling, the kickboxing. So pretty much from age 16 up until now, I'm 29. So the last 13 years, I just haven't stopped. I fell in love with it. I was wrestling, and then after wrestling, I would go to Tiger Schulman's and do all the classes there. And then, when I turned 18, I went to college for about a year and a half, and I dropped out and just started training full time.
Where'd you go to college?
HCC, Hillsborough Community College.
Okay. My mom actually lives in Clearwater. So
okay.
It's kind of fucked up, but amazing. But like, when they first talked about your story, they said Publix. I was like, oh, that place is the shit. I was before I hadn't heard about you to that point, but I was like, I'm so happy he's fighting out of Tampa and he works at Publix. So that's amazing.
I've been there for like 11, 12 years now.
So like just as many years as you've been kicking asses, you've been
pretty much. When I was like 17, is actually when I started. So, basically 1 year after I started picking up, martial arts, that's when I started working at Publix. You know?
Yeah, career martial artist, and then fucking shouts out to Publix. Those goddamn sandwiches are amazing. They're
the best.
So how all right? So you're a little bit. You got some stardom going on. So like, are you having any issues now, like with like your public schedule? Like do you still work there, or are you pretty much going to be done with that now going forward into the UFC?
No, I still work at Publix. I don't think I'll ever stop working at Publix, to be honest, because first of all, I just like working there.
Right.
And they've always been super flexible with my schedule.
Right.
I think they're a great growing company. They're always growing, and I like to buy stock and to be a part of, you can only buy stock if you're a part of Publix.
Right.
Or you buy it from somebody who owns or who has, stock. So that's my plan, is to continue buying stock. But I do work. I'm going to be working there every Tuesday like I normally do. I think it just it'll help keep me humble, and I'm never too good to still serve people,
right?
Even fighting in the UFC and doing whatever the case may be.
I absolutely love it. It's amazing that you keep your work ethic, and then also at the end of the day, like a lot of the things that I find about like some of the fighters that I interview is they stay pretty connected with where they live and their community. So putting a face to, the flying knee at your local store is going to be like, that's the next best thing. Like, yeah. You're going to get bothered. People are going to bother the shit out of you if they're not already doing it now, and obviously your coworkers know that you're involved in martial arts.
Yep.
Were they watching the night of it happening?
Yeah, a lot of them were, I guess they gathered at some bars to go watch the fights. Right. I have other ones they just got on ESPN Plus. Some of them went and watched it at a sports bar here called Duffy's. Okay. There's another one called Ducky's down the street. So there was just a ton of different like watch spots that everybody was watching at. And of course, I went into Publix on Sunday to go pick up some flowers and stuff for my grandma. It was her 91st birthday on Saturday. Okay. And so we went in to go, and I saw everybody. I got to see, not everybody was there, but whoever was there, I got to talk to them for a little bit.
Right.
And, they congratulated me, so that was pretty cool.
That's amazing. I love it. You seem like a really great guy. You got a good head on your shoulders, and as far as moving forward, and like, you want to root for the guys that don't have like a ton of like cocaine scandals going into the UFC and a bunch of other fucked up shit. Yeah. You hear about all these things from Florida man to alligator. Now we got something good coming out of Florida in Aalon. So that's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
So moving forward, I guess you're on a four win streak right now. Win streak right now. You had a bunch of submissions before that, obviously showcasing your rapping ability. And from what I saw, like you are a completely rounded fighter. I mean, obviously there's room for improvement, but just from what I was seeing, that opponent you fought in Steven Eugene. How do you pronounce his last name?
I think it's Win.
Win.
Yeah.
That guy was fucking good. That's another
Yeah.
career MMA fighter too. It could have went either way up until that third round. Between the leg kicks you were landing, which were beautifully timed. I love those. You were working them off of like a shot to the body and then finishing with the low kick. And because you were mixing it up so well, I believe that's one of the reasons why you were able to set up that knee so well. And then you landed that knee earlier in the fight. I think it was the second round you landed the knee. He was doing this thing where every time he would engage, he would move forward and put his head down a little bit. Every time he would go to the top. And going back to your style, you said your instructor is a black belt in Taekwondo, and even before that, you're doing Tiger Schulman's. You can see those kicks. You can see you're throwing crescent kicks. You're throwing you're throwing all. I saw like you even like attempted an axe kick at some point in the fight. It looks like you're more comfortable throwing kicks than you are just throwing jabs and all that other stuff. Michael Bisping was even saying you're throwing kicks up like they were jabs, your teeps up like they were jabs. So how would you describe your style?
Man, it's funny. I have probably the longest wingspan, I would say, probably in my weight class. I have a 78-inch reach. But the thing is, I feel really comfortable throwing my kicks. Obviously, I have long legs.
Right.
And it just seems like a lower risk to throw my kicks to set up my punches. So I don't know if you noticed, like, a lot of times when I was throwing kicks, after the kick, I would throw a punch after because I knew he wanted to come in to kind of keep the distance. And then I think it helps set up my punches a little better. So then if I do want to, throw a three-piece, I can, and then add the kick at the end.
Right.
It's like, like people try to get their jab going so they get their timing, right? And they get their range.
Right.
Well, for me, it's kicks. I like to use my kicks first to really get my timing going, get my range. And they're dangerous, and it just makes people think. Like you said, I try to go low, high, body, because you just don't know where it's coming. I like to use a lot of like question mark kicks and whatnot.
I saw that too. So you see that a lot out of Jackson Wink's guys. A lot of those guys practice that. John Jones practiced that crescent kick. Holly Holm practices that kick too as well. So it's you mix it up very well.
Yeah, he but Stephen Wynn's. He's very good. Right. If you notice the way he fights, he's very compact. His hands are very high, and so even when the kicks were coming, he was able to block a lot. Everything is blocked here. Some of the kicks got through for sure and landed, but man, he has a great defense. He has a great chin. Clearly, I landed a lot of stuff, and I was just kind of like I've had fighters like that before, where I've thrown the kitchen sink at them. I've hit them with everything, and they don't go down. So in my mind, I know some fighters can get discouraged when they hit them with their best shots and they don't go down. But to me, it's just like, okay, I just got to keep going and figure out how to put you down. And if I get the finish, then I do. If I don't, hopefully I've done enough to get the win.
Well, on top of that too, don't sell yourself too short. You have a fantastic chin yourself. He was hitting you. There's points in the fight where he had run rounds off of significant strikes. I think that was like the first round, first or second round. But you took it and you didn't slow down. You didn't change your pace at all. And that's it's wonderful. That's what you want to see out of your fighters. And then I want to talk about what type of matchup risk you represent for fighters. So Stephen Wynn, being a formidable fighter himself, like you said before, you have the 79-inch reach. You're able to use these kicks like jabs, and I think that's going to be such a big problem you're going to be much bigger than guys at 145 pounds at 6 foot. You know what I mean? So as far as that was like the worst thing that not in bad ways, but the worst thing if I'm fighting you is you're able to throw these kicks very quickly and with ease and on target. You're very precise and you're very very fast with these kicks. And there are going to be a lot of people who are not going to know how to handle that. You're going to have so much weight behind your legs.
Yeah, I know it definitely makes it a difficult time, and that's also a part of I know getting into a cage with somebody, you have it's like Mike Tyson says, you have a game plan until you get punched in the face. So
right.
My I guess way would be, everybody has a game plan until I'm kicking you in the face. I like to come out. I try to, he was almost as tall as I was. He was 5'11".
Right. Yeah.
If it's like a shorter guy or anybody really, I try to come out and just be real long. I want my arms just in your face the whole time, just so you feel the length. I like to touch that front hand just so it's, because it kind of freaks people out when you're touching them, but you're not hitting them.
Yeah.
it's obviously a big part of my game. I use my kicks as my front defense. If there's a moat around a castle, that's my moat. And then when you make it in, I've got my archers, which would be my punches. You know what I mean?
Some Lord of the Rings out there.
Yeah, bringing some Dungeons and Dragons there.
Do you play Dungeons and Dragons?
I did as a kid.
That's amazing.
I'm definitely a big anime nerd, and anything like that. Like I'm all about dragons and mystical stuff. Like I was trying to hit Comic-Con was here this week.
Okay.
And I didn't have any time to go. I wanted to go really bad, but I'm all about that type of stuff. That's fun. So my girlfriend hates it though. It's funny because like on my Instagram stories, always taking videos of the animes that I'm watching.
What animes are you watching now?
I'm watching. Is it bad to pick up girls in a dungeon?
What the
That's
fuck?
one of them. It's really funny. It's really funny.
Okay.
And time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Someone has told me to watch that. I heard that is actually a very, very good anime. I heard that
very
was a really
good. Also Dr. Stone and Fire Force. Those are great animes. But my girlfriend's like, she's like, you're gonna need to lay off of the anime posting. I'm like, why? Like,
no, double down.
Yeah.
This is the time to do it. Look, for so long, I used to watch like animes when I was a kid. I used to get fucking made fun of and like all this other shit. Like, not like too bad. Other kids were watching it too on Toonami, but it wasn't like socially acceptable. I see weebs everywhere now. It's so great. I love it. All my friends love anime. People like unapologetically love anime. There are guys. Israel Adesanya loves anime. Right. There's another one, Roxanne Modafferi. Like all these fighters are coming forward who are these high profile guys you would never imagine in a million years. And here you are, Aalon Cruz, watching animes.
Well, I think we enjoyed like the, because there's always like a cool like martial arts aspect. I mean, there's always some cool fights, right? Yeah. So you're like, I wonder if that would work in a fight.
Right?
Could I do that? You know what I mean? So I like to pick up some of those like, some of the, a lot of animes, a lot of like philosophical, tones behind it. So I like to hear like, there's certain philosophies on fighting or techniques they use, or it actually just kind of adds into my training, and I think about the fights through watching some of the shows. So I
was gonna say like sometimes like I equate some dudes like when they come out a certain ways. You're reminding me of Spike Siegel in Cowboy Bebop, the way he's got that long kicking range style, and he's got the hands long.
What's up?
I love that. That's my favorite anime. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. All right, Aalon out here watching the Weeb of the Century. Let's get him up there. Let's get him up there. As far as UFC is concerned. But real quick on the knockout too. What to me, which is as important as that knockout, is we kind of saw shades of Yair Rodriguez there, and the way he's able to mix things up. At times, you would least expect it, and if you recall that reverse elbow he threw over the Korean Zombie. And he got it. That's like the first thing I thought of when you landed that knockout. Not specifically because it was like this spectacular high risk strike that you're throwing. If you for him it was the last second, so if he missed, it would have just been like the fight was over. But if you missed that knee in the last 30 seconds, you risk a takedown, and with that takedown, that might sway the opinion of the judges to give him that thing. But you set it up very well. Like I said before, you had landed it before. But the one thing that I want to note about that knee that is almost as important as the knockout in my personal opinion, right? So it was the situation. The situation in the last 30 seconds. This is like the Hail Mary that you would expect out of Russell Wilson or Tom Brady marching down on the 2-minute drill in the last fourth quarter, right? So like this is your version of that. You were able, and your level of awareness is what brought you on to do that. And I hear you talk about it in the post fight interview. I don't remember if it was exactly with Laura Sanko or if you were talking with someone else. But, you said you felt him leaning forward and you drug him in, and then, you got that look out of him where he was dipping his head down a little bit, and then you ended up firing up that knee. So that's what I want to talk about. Like, your level of awareness is, like, coming into the league is so well sharpened. There's not, like, people want to make the comparison of the Contender series being, like, college football, but I feel like a lot of guys coming out of college football are not as polished as an athlete is coming out of the Contender series. But this is the closest thing we have to college football. There's got the, this is you're a first round draft pick. You're the first round draft pick. You went number 1 overall. Dana, you made eye contact with Dana. Dana saw you. I never seen that in my entire life before. Can you tell me what that was feeling like when you looked over and you like signed me? He's like, yeah, fucking do it. Like this fucking Dana Whiteface. I loved it.
It was surreal because I have the memory in my head now and I can replay it. But when I watch it, it doesn't even seem like it's me. It's almost like I'm watching someone do it.
Right.
But I just like after I knocked him out and then I finished the fight. It was funny because like instinctually I just kind of knew where Dana was sitting. It wasn't like I had to look for him. I just knew exactly he was behind me. So I turned.
Right.
I looked at him. I was just like in my mind. I guess I was just kind of like, is like it can't get any better than this in my mind. So that's why I was like this. And then when he reciprocated, and he's like, yeah, yeah. I was like, that's what's up. I was so happy because, I felt bad for. Most of them got signed other than Rodriguez.
Right.
But I felt bad for all them because they're all kind of still on pins and needles because they don't know if they're getting signed.
Right.
Obviously, I didn't it's not like I was 100% getting signed, but I kind of knew like I was already getting signed. Right. So that's why probably I was so happy in the back. I was sitting in the chair and I was, smiling the whole time. 'Cause I already knew. I was like, there's no way he doesn't sign me right now.
Right.
And it was just a really cool like experience. You know what I mean? Like, Dana's never done that.
No, he has not.
I would never. To be honest, in my personality, I don't even know where it came from because I don't ever do stuff like that. Like, I'm not one to, parade to anybody outside. Normally, when I win, and then I just kind of walk off and just wait. Like, I just stay like real chill.
Right.
But I also, in my mind, what's funny is like as I'm fighting, I never really committed to like any of the takedown attempts. I kind of just used them to just back him up because he was being so forward.
Right.
And as the fight's going on, I kind of consciously was thinking like, I'm on the Contender series. I have to do more than, what I am now to get in. I don't know if that was like a final thought that I was thinking just before I threw the knee.
Right.
But I know I had thought that throughout the fight, especially in the third round.
Right.
And I just knew I had to do more. And I had to show that I have a personality that would get me, into the UFC and people would like. So I think that was just kind of the icing on the cake. Dana's like, oh, he has a personality as well. Like, I'm not just like this blank slate that, is just like keep killing people.
Right. So, that was going to be my next question is like, do you think that like Dana White's like opinion on how fights should be ending in the Contender series based off of that one thing? I think that was that guy Longhorn out of England.
Brandon Loughnane.
Yeah. Yes. Was that sitting in the back of your head? Because that precedent was set very early on. It's like, hey, I think he ended up getting signed either to the PFL or the one.
The PFL picked him up.
Right. Which is like, at the end of the day, right? So like that's what he wanted. He got signed to like a pretty major organization. I think the PFL is, they're getting there as far as like, they're on ESPN Plus. They're getting the exposure they need. They're getting all these great athletes. I think they're trying to field Cyborg and all these other fighters trying to come over there.
Right.
So I like that being there. I like that option for the PFL or One Championship or Bellator being there now. Because he ended up getting the contract. Obviously, you want to be signed with the people that are creators of the show.
Right.
But obviously, that's something that resonated with you. Maybe not even consciously in that moment because you were focused on trying to fight. But subconsciously, that's something you were thinking of. So I think that's an interesting dichotomy that they have there.
Yeah. No. It's funny because right after that happened, because most of the time, when you do have fights and you're training with your coaches, and if it was a normal fight at like another show, that would be a perfect thing for you to do. You hit the takedown in the last 10 seconds to like solidify your win, right? That's like what your coaches teach you to do.
Right.
But, when we found out that that's not what he wanted for this show, I legit was like, I told my coach, we were messaging through Facebook and we were like, I was like, you saw that? I was like, we got to change our entire just the way we're training right now. I was like, we just got to go for the kill the entire time. We were starting to train a little different, like more so trying to walk him down, which obviously is very hard to do with him.
Right.
But, we were trying to train that. And it actually motivated me. Not that I don't train hard as is, but there was like a fire under me. And I was like, I got to train harder.
Right.
Even though I train extremely hard, I was like, I have to train even harder and more vicious. I need to really get in the mindset of killing when I'm in there.
Right.
And as the weeks went on, because that was the first week, so we were week 6. He kind of I don't want to say he took it back, but he more so said it's not like I'm not going to sign people. You don't have to finish everybody doesn't have to finish people to get signed.
Right.
He's like, I just want to see you being aggressive. You're going for the finish the entire time. He's like, it doesn't mean you have to finish, because we've seen people get signed even though they didn't finish their guys.
Right.
But they were going for the finish the whole time. So then it was like kind of more of a relief, like, oh gosh, like I don't have to like really finish someone,
right.
like, just to get in. You just need to be active and really be trying to finish the fight at all times, which I always do.
Right.
But I also was debating with the, whether to be exciting or whether to fight a smart fight and get the win.
Right.
It was like, do I throw crazy stuff like right off the bat and risk getting hurt or losing? So my biggest thing was like, I was thinking about it like, logically, I was like, you have to win though.
Yeah.
I was like, it doesn't matter how exciting you are, how good the fight is. If you lose, you're not getting signed. And
you lessen your ability of coming back. There's a couple times where, some things have happened where it was like a freak knockout in the first 10, 15 seconds where people have come back and have later fought on the Contender series, but those chances are few and far between. Like that's your first impression that you're going to make on the UFC out of the gate. I understand what he's saying. Like he wants it to be, very exciting. In the same rhetoric that you see here, you've seen in The Ultimate Fighter and any of the other, in regular cards. So I understand what he's saying. There's still a part of me that goes, I understand that's what you want, but giving the fans what they want is not always the best thing, because, people don't understand when you see those spinning, kick knockouts or, wheel kick knockouts to the top of the head or flying knee, or you don't see all the other people that have tried that so many times before that have gotten fucked up as a result. And we're talking top of the line. Chris Weidman is another big name that's where he's done something like that. Yes, yeah.
Back kick, man.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's you can be the most confident person in the world when it comes to those types of techniques. It's still a high risk technique. So for you to land it is an instant sign. So I completely understand it. Now we're starting to see that more. We're starting to encourage it more. If you ever listen to Joe Rogan's podcast or anything, he's got all these ultra marathon runners and all this stuff, and it was like at first everyone was like, "There's no way you can do it," and then one or two people can do it. Now everyone's fucking doing it, right? So we're kind of seeing that kind of behavior now in striking in the UFC, where not everyone was before. Everyone was like, so still gung ho about grappling and wrestling, but now we're starting to see more people. And the Contender series is the best example of that. Up until your knockout, there was 35 knockouts over in this season that they have for the Contender series. So the culture's changing. They're changing the culture of the UFC. I think grappling that base is still super important because I feel you even relied on it too. So even though you didn't get those takedowns, that's a huge wear on his body. You're going to be able to set him up for something like that, like a knee later on, because he's going to be worried about, well, I know he's trying. Like every now and then I see you grab a leg, scoop a leg under, and he'll slip out of it and readjust to whatever he's doing. You're making him uncomfortable at all levels. So even though you didn't get the takedown, the threat of that takedown took that mental energy out of him, and we saw that progress throughout the fight.
Right. No, 100%. Because what's funny is that little ankle pick that I went for a few times that he didn't go down. I hit that all the time in sparring, and it's kind of like it's a non-committal takedown. It's kind of like I go for it, and if I get it and you fall on the ground, perfect. I'm going to start ground and pound. Right. But if I don't get it, you just keep going. Obviously, he never fell from it, but I was also starting to set up. I was touching his leg or going for it and then coming up with an uppercut because, while he's looking down to defend the takedown, his face is there. Right. And I missed, I missed every single one. I might have thrown it the uppercut 3 times off of it, but it never landed. But that was my intention. Or anytime we broke up in the clinch, we would end up in a small clinch because he was breaking me off. I would throw a push kick immediately, right off the break. Push kick, jab to the face, get out. I just wanted him to know that anytime we broke apart or that I was, we were clinched up for a second, there's going to be some type of consequence on the exit.
Right. And then that's something you drill. You drill that all the time. You drill punishing your opponent for any time that he comes in or any time that you're going, and you want to make sure that they are not happy with the situation that you're putting in front of them. You don't want them to feel comfortable. So that ankle pick, those check kicks or those low leg kicks or, the crescent kick over the top, those are all things that will frustrate your opponent to to open up holes and make them a little bit bigger later on in the fight, and that's exactly what happened. So one question in particular about your game planning, because you're very cerebral. There's something that you prepare lots of different techniques over many different. I'm not sure if you go to a lot of different areas. I know Florida is rife with a bunch of MMA schools. I don't know.
There's a ton of them.
Yeah, there's a Hard Knocks 365 is one that I know about. Desmond Green, one of the guys that I have had on here, fights out of there. That's Henry Hoof's place. There's a few in Tampa. There's a couple places in Tampa where you're at. So in regards to your game plan, I heard a couple things, right? So while I was listening to Bisping talk about your background a little bit, Bisping says you rarely watch people on tape. Like, you rarely watch tape. You feel as if though that's going to be make an issue, I guess, as far as like not your cognition, as far as like knowing what, I guess, does that get in your head at all a little bit? Like watching other people do techniques over and over again, or what their fights look like in the past?
Yeah, it definitely used to, early on in my career more so. The thing is, like, I'll watch like a little bit of video, in the beginning of camp, just to get a sense of what they do.
Right.
Just so because I want to know what they look like, and I kind of know what their style is slightly. And then from there, I'll let my coach and my teammates look at it, give me their input. Obviously, my coach watches it, and he tells me, he likes to do this. Let's work on this because I saw this in the video. And more so just the tendencies, not necessarily things that he does well. And then I'll kind of watch more video, like, as the fight gets closer, just to get a refresher. Like, maybe like 2 weeks out, I'll watch the fights that I have watched already, watch them over again.
Right.
Just so I didn't forget what his style's like, and I know what he looks like again. And then, I'm just, because if I watch too much video, my girlfriend will tell you, like, I'll sit there and obsess. Like, I'll just sit there all day on the phone just watching video, like 24/7.
Right.
And then I'm not relaxing my mind at all. Not that you can really relax when you have a fight coming.
Right.
You're always thinking fight anyway.
Right.
But, actually seeing it 24/7 and then, being like, oh, he does this with this, like, if, let's say I saw that he drops his right hand every time he throws his left hook. He has a nice left hook.
Yeah, he does.
Every time he throws his left hook, he drops his right hand. And I, like, have that in my mind, like, I'm going to counter that left hook, with a left hand. But then he decides to block it. Maybe he fixed that over his camp, right? He fixed that. But now he's blocking. Well, when I do it, now, you might freak out and be like, oh, man, like, I thought that was going to be there all day, and now it's not. So now it kind of can mess with your head. So that's why I don't like to get too stuck into people's. I just assume that they're going to be if I thought they weren't that good or that they didn't look that good in their other fights, I just assume they're going to be the best version of themselves possible.
Gotcha.
When they show up to the cage. I'm always preparing for the champion of my division, Max Holloway, who was there.
Right.
And that's who essentially I'm training for. Like, I'm trying to think in my mind, like, if I had to fight Max Holloway tomorrow, would I be ready? Right. And what do I need to work on? So I always assume my opponent's at their best. And he was at his best that night. I mean, everything he did, he couldn't have done any better.
I can't wait to talk about matchups with you coming up, because now you're in the fucking family now, right? So, like, now you're in one of the most deep divisions in the UFC. It's, I think the lightweight division, welterweight, and featherweight division, they're the deepest divisions in the UFC, and it's not like first, best, worst or whatever. It's just like those are the three that I see where the best athletes usually end up, as far as men's UFC is concerned. So as far as that goes, I know you're not looking too far ahead. I also wonder if you're eyeing the October card in Florida right now. There are some matchups out there that I love to see. And then you eye Max Holloway. That's your aspiration. And I feel like if you're going to be a champion, that's what you have to do. You have to visualize yourself going and fighting the champion. And even if you don't do that, you're gonna have to at some point anyway, right? If you're doing well, you're being successful, you're beating the top 15 guys. You don't even need to beat that many top 15 guys anymore. You can just be good on the mic, which you are. Like, you're pretty good on the mic, and beat the right guy at the right time, or fill in for someone who's hurt, or whatever the case may be. It's a crazy sport, and boom, now you have a title shot. Now you're Dustin Poirier fighting Khabib in September or something. You know what I mean? Like, it happens fast. The opportunity's out there fast, and you look fantastic, and the way you prepare is very good. So there's one person that I would like to see you fight. And again, I don't know where you are in your talks or anything like this, but this is something that I've considered. because you're a featherweight, Michael Johnson. I would love that. I would like to see that matchup with you, as far as like someone you can stand with. You know, we know he can go 5 rounds. He's fought some of the best people in the country, in the world, at 155 and 145. And you guys are both Florida guys. So, or I know he trains out of Hard Knocks. I don't know if he lives in Florida.
Yeah.
But I know he trains out of Hard Knocks. That would be an outstanding matchup. And then I think that, you know, from there the jump off point would be like someone else higher up in the 10, and then here you are with Max Holloway possibly in Hawaii. Who knows? We don't know.
That'd be
Anything
awesome.
can happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't talked to. I was actually going to call my manager today and talk to him and see like what he was thinking, because he told me about October, and I was like, that sounds awesome.
That's perfect,
you know, and you know, and in Florida it'd be pretty cool. It's been a while since I fought in Florida. The only thing is I don't know if Florida might be too soon, just because some things that are going on at the moment. But
Gotcha.
You know, if not Florida, I was thinking maybe December for the DC card.
Okay.
Because DC is a fight night, and I've been discussing this with my girlfriend and I don't think being on a pay-per-view, because, you know, there's Madison Square Garden in November,
right.
and then
Derek
in
Lewis is gonna be on
December
the card.
they have one in Vegas, pay-per-view.
Right.
Because I don't really want to fight in Russia or Brazil yet for my debut.
right.
But down the road for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, I think you get more exposure on a fight night card, right? Because everybody has ESPN for the most part. They just turn it on, boom, they see you on there, and that's it. And not most people are out there buying pay-per-views or going to bars to go watch fights. So for the exposure and, you know, the money, you know, I'm getting the base pay money, you know, for where I'm at, I might as well fight on a fight night card, get better exposure, since I'm only getting, you know, the base pay,
right,
and, you know, build up my fan base, I guess,
right,
you know, start working through my contract,
right,
you know, on whatever the pay scale is, you know, and just I think fight nights are just better. You know, I don't think pay-per-views are the way to go. It's early on in your career. You know, if you make it onto the main card of a pay-per-view, which I don't think I would make,
right,
you know, then yeah, for sure, fight on there, because you're going to get more. You're not getting pay-per-view points, but you're going to get more. I don't know, more views, I guess.
right.
But if it was like a fight night card in DC, I might be able to be on the main card,
Right.
and it's going to be on ESPN. You know,
Right.
And as far as Michael Johnson goes, I mean, that's a dope fight. I don't know if I'm really even at his level, not as far as like skill wise, but like as far as where he's at, like in the rankings, or, you know, what, he just fought Josh Emmett, right?
He's coming off a couple losses to Artem Lobov and Josh Emmett right now.
Oh, he did lose to Artem too.
So that's one of the reasons why I'm like, he's coming off 2 losses. You know, when you look at storylines being made in the UFC, that's typically what happens, right? The newcomer comes, and Michael Johnson's 32, 33 years old. Mm-hmm. This would be like his like make or break. I'm like, hey, if, you know, this newcomer coming in, if you wouldn't be able to route this guy, then, you know, maybe he's going to absorb your ranking spot. I don't even know if he's ranked anymore in 145, because I don't think he was ranked in lightweight before he left for lightweight, or left from lightweight. So that's why I mean, just stylistically, I think it's a great matchup, and I think you might get a little bit more of the edge in age, and then also momentum behind you, right?
Right.
And I think that would just be a great name to pad to get the stats up, because he is an undeniably good striker. And as much as we talk shit about Artem Lobov and you know, him being the GOAT and him going over there beating Paulie Malignaggi's ass for all the UFC fans out there,
I was there too. I saw it.
Oh, you saw it? Oh, you saw it live?
Tampa.
Oh my god! How awesome was it?
It was interesting. I would never do bare knuckle. It's a little too intense, but. You know, to the guys that did it, I had a few friends fighting on that card, and they did well. And then, you know, the main event was kind of a dud. You know, I thought it'd be a little better than what it was, but it was still cool. It was a cool experience to be there.
Paulie broke both of his hands within the first 45 seconds.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but you know, but even so, Artem's show with Michael Johnson, it was a pretty good fight. You know, Michael couldn't put him away. He's got the fucking head of a champion. And you know, he couldn't put him away, and I think Artem, like, I don't know if I don't remember if it was a draw or if it was a loss for Artem. I don't remember. I don't remember. I think he lost to Artem Lobov. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know. I don't even know if I saw that fight. I think I might have like just heard the results and missed that fight.
Right. No, but Artem gave him some problems. He gave him some trouble. It was way closer than it was supposed to be.
Artem's tough, man. He's not a slouch. I mean, even he went with Ryan Hall for 3 rounds and He didn't get submitted.
That
He's
that
tough.
that's another guy out there too. Ryan Hall, I think he's ranked 15, 14. That was another guy that I was looking at. As far as like getting up that 4A in there.
Right.
Yeah, man, like the world is your oyster at featherweight. Like there's like so many different like talented people that can go out there that you can make your name of. And I do like the point that you made about being on, what I consider the ESPN engine, right? So they're using the Fox engine before, which was
right.
it worked dividends for them. They got the exposure that they needed for the UFC. It was basically mainstream. That's one of the reasons why I even saw Conor McGregor is because of Fox Sports 1.
Yep.
So it makes complete sense for you to want to go on that fight night. So I didn't even have. That's something I didn't even really put together as far as exposure goes. That fight night, the idea does make sense. And then you already have that background on ESPN Plus on Dana White. That's the best thing that you could have done as far as like exposure goes. Being on the Contender series is great. Now that soundbite's everywhere, or that clip is everywhere. It's got ESPN slapped all over it. So that's good. That's some good shit. You're gonna be on all over SportsCenter if you're not already now.
Yeah, we made it to the number one ESPN top play of the day.
That's great. That's amazing. Did you imagine 10 years ago when you were watching Tito Ortiz and all these other people, like all these other people fight, would you have imagined in a million years that it would be as mainstream as it is today on ESPN on SportsCenter?
No, because man, I remember watching like little like local MMA shows or like Bodog fights, and they would come on at like 2 a.m. on like, some channel that nobody watches in the nighttime. And I was just, super like deep into it. Like I was, just a nerd, MMA nerd about it, just watching all these fights and, that nobody's even heard of. And you just you really had to look for these cards.
Right.
But then it was also back in the day when like, pay-per-views were like very sparse and they were kind of like hyped up. Remember you would find out like BJ Penn versus Diego Sanchez. You had to wait months and months for that pay-per-view. And so it would just be this big, and it'd be a stacked card.
Yeah.
And then you'd plan where you're going to go watch it, and you'd watch it and just be an awesome card.
Right.
And then you had to wait a few more months for the next pay-per-view. Obviously, there's so many more pay-per-views now.
Right.
Because, the roster is so big, and the UFC is just very active, so it was just like, it's cool, like, seeing how mainstream it is. Even so, there are still people that don't even know what MMA is.
No. They'll refer to it as UFC. Like, oh, you fight UFC? Yeah. You fight UFC? It's like, no, not in the UFC. I don't fight in the UFC. Fantastic.
So, eventually everybody will know. I mean, it's a fairly young sport still. It's not like boxing. It hasn't been around for over 100 years.
Right.
But, when the UFC or MMA has been around for over 100 years, then, I'm assuming people will know exactly what it is.
Right.
All around the world.
Right. I mean, I feel like they're there now. Like, as the UFC might not be as far spreading in all parts of the world, but it's got the Americas locked down, and one championship has got that whole hemisphere locked.
Man,
they do so well in Singapore, they do well in Japan, they do well in China. They have locked down Asia over there. It's a very big deal. They take it very seriously over there. One championship. So MMA is slowly creeping over the entire world. It's undeniable at this point. They're trying to move it to Africa now. I would like to see some fights in Africa.
They got what's their big EFC? I think is their big organization in Africa right now.
I think so.
They're pretty big. I mean, they're a regional show,
right?
But like they're a pretty big promotion. But I mean, if you start putting UFCs in Africa, I mean, it's gonna explode over there. I could imagine, Dana thinking about putting a performance institute over in Africa too. Got one in Shanghai now. Yeah, and they've got the one in Vegas.
Well, so all of these Contender Series fights are based out of the Apex arena. So can you tell me about that experience at all? I don't really know much about the Apex arena other than that it looks beautiful, and then that's what they plan on having all the Contender Series fights over.
Yeah, the Apex is crazy, man. So they're gonna make it into kind of like what the Performance Institute is. Like the Performance Institute, obviously they've got all the workout stuff. They got the rehabilitation center, the pools, saunas, all that stuff. They're going to do that at the Apex as well. Mm-hmm. So they'll have it separate. So we're like, you won't even have to run into your opponent. Like they'll have a blue corner training gym and they'll have a red corner training gym.
Holy shit.
And it's just going to be this massive promotional space. They'll have like rock shows there. Obviously Zuffa boxing, they're getting that going, so they're going to have all their boxing matches. They'll probably get into kickboxing too. There'll probably be a Zuffa kickboxing. So it's pretty crazy. Like it's a really nice brand new space to have essentially whatever kind of event they want to rent it out for.
It's amazing. So I know I just asked, like, so what amenities did you use while you were at the Apex facility?
Man, so I was really only just cutting weight there for the most part, but my coaches and my teammate that came, they were all over the place. They were like little kids trying out every little machine. And we went upstairs and we used the boxing ring just to warm up a little bit.
Okay.
And then running on the treadmill. So while I'm running on the treadmill, this is when they decide to start trying out all these toys. They're doing all this stuff. Uh-huh. And I told my wrestling coach, because he's walking around everywhere, I was like, can you just stay still? I was like, because I'm cutting weight, and me seeing you guys moving all around is driving me insane. But I used that, and then after that, I went into this room where they have a hot tub, they have a cold tub, and then they've got like one of those infinity pools where like you just keep swimming and it pushes you. And they also had a sauna and a steam room in there as well. So I did the hot tub for like 5 minutes, and then I jumped in the cold tub for 2 minutes. That was freezing cold. But I felt great after I got out.
I would imagine.
And then it's really cool because like in the locker room, so when we're drying off, I weighed myself real quick. They have this machine. It's like a little box. And you put your training clothes inside of it, and you close the lid, and you hold it down, and it like squeezes all of the sweat out of your... It's the craziest thing. I've never seen it before. It's like a machine, and you hear it go like this, and you just see all the sweat dripping out of the bottom, and you pull it out, and your clothing is kind of dry. I mean, it's not like clean or completely dry, but it's like drier than what it was before.
Right, so you're just not saturated in sweat. I saw that one at a Rutgers facility when I was at Rutgers. It was like this little turbine. You dropped your shit in it, closed it, and just spun it out real quick.
Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't even know those things existed.
Yeah, it's wild as shit. They're taking care of you guys in there. Did they feed you? Were you guys eating? Well, you're in a weight cut.
No, I couldn't. Well, yeah, I couldn't eat anyway, but I guess if you're part of the Contender series, you're not able to use the cafe's like amenities really. So you have to be a UFC fighter to like have them cook for you or do anything like that. Gotcha. So I didn't really get to go there for anything, but
well, now that's different. You got a contract. You can go back and eat all the food you fucking want to eat now.
Anytime I want. That's the cool thing. I'm like, I can go to Vegas and go chill at the PI for as long as I want.
That's great. That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, that's big. Oh, there's one thing I did want to talk about. So on top of you being like a really awesome fighter and an awesome dude,
Thank you.
You had a pretty relatable story as far as your mom was a single mother. Similar background. My mother was a single mother too. So it was very difficult for shouts out to the single. You know what's even, I will always remember this. So people telling me like I don't know if you had the similar issue or not, but it's kind of seems like the odds were stacked against you when you're living with your mom. Because I could just remember people like routinely telling me like how more likely you are to fail.
Wow.
For like a lot of different things. Like it's difficult, like not having like a father around and stuff. I'm sure as you are aware too. So that I just remember hearing so many different things, and people talk to you way differently, when they know you don't have a father around. That's there, that's there to like, be that authoritative figure that'll stand up for you and stuff. People have said the craziest, wildest, racist shit to me, not even knowing my background or anything like that, because they know like the reaction is going to be from my mom, and my mom's like 5 foot, you know what I mean? Like my mom's like a tiny woman, so, but yeah, I just remember, like the odds were like, I feel are stacked against us, in the perception of a lot of people, because they don't think we're going to be well adjusted. And, like here you are, like, here you are, like at the top of the mountain. And I think that's super relatable. And I think your story is really important for people, where the odds might be stacked in against us, because of just like statistics or whatever the fucking bullshit they want to put us in the box for. But there's a lot of people that are in your situation where, you're, not in school and you're pursuing a passion and you don't know. That guy you beat he was a career martial artist too. And I think, where was he fighting out? Colorado?
He's from Kansas. He was it's called EFC, I think. EFC featherweight champion.
Right. So, you're going against these other guys who are as good as you. Some of them might even be better athletes, although that's going to be very difficult for you. 6 foot, 145 pounds. It's going to be very difficult for someone to be fucking way more aggressive, bigger, and then more athletic than you. You already got the tangibles in place for that. But as far as like your beginnings, I think there's a lot of people in a situation like that too, where they're like, I don't know if I should pursue this anymore because the odds are not stacked in my favor, and I don't know if it's worth it to pursue something I love doing, or even attempt to go out and find a passion that you have because you feel a certain way. So I just want to say I appreciated your story as a result too, because that's something that was inspiring to me as well, as someone who did not have a father for parts of his life in the beginning at the early stages.
I appreciate it.
But,
yeah, it was just it's like you said, like you're kind of already at a deficit,
right.
starting out a little bit. It's always weird, like you said. So like my mom used to always tell me, like as far as like school fights go, like you were saying, is you better not be. I better not get a call from the principal or anybody that you were in a fight. She's like, I don't care if you started it. Right. I don't care if they started it.
Right.
She's like, you're gonna get your ass whooped. So that was always the threat to me.
Right.
And definitely I definitely had my share of bullying in school. Obviously like I come from a Hispanic heritage, and so being Mexican, you always get like these racist comments towards you.
Oh my God.
And it's just kids. Kids are just very brutal when they're younger.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just funny because a lot of the people who used to like bully me in high school
are coming right the fuck up to you, right? They're coming right back up to you.
they're like my biggest fans now.
Yeah,
which is the funniest thing.
That's what I'm saying.
And I don't hold any like hate or ill will towards them. Like I just it's whatever. You're a kid. We've all done bad things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so having just your mom beside you, it's just a little different, like when other people are talking about like, oh, I'm gonna go, hang out with my dad, or Father's Day, do whatever, or we had these like I said, like in the video, we would have like a father son breakfast, and I usually either I took my mom or she had to go to work. I would take my next door neighbor, who he's taken me to many father son breakfasts, and I always appreciated him for that.
Right.
And
shouts out to the neighbor.
I think also what happens is when you're a kid and you don't have a dad, you tend to look for a male figure to like a role model.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can choose the wrong role model, and maybe these kids choose the wrong person.
It happens.
And then they end up going down this bad road.
Right.
And so luckily I've had a lot of good male idols to look up to growing up. So I didn't go down these bad roads.
It's it's interesting that you bring that up, because that's a very constant theme. People get tied up in I didn't grow up in the best environments until I was like maybe 10-ish years old. My parents made sure they when I was younger they put me in like pre-K and like all this other shit, and tried to work their dick off to like make sure I was like in okay schools, like okay public schools. But there are a lot of people who aren't afforded that, right? So like there are a lot of people who do exactly what you say. They have no male role model, so anything will do. Anyone that's showing them any kind of kindness, and you see a lot of people prey on kids like that. You see a lot of people who are like drug dealers, or just they don't have to be that extreme. They could just be assholes. They could just be assholes.
Yep.
And then they're the kid has no idea. That's their first interaction with a male figure in their life. So if you're telling them what they need to hear and they get that gratification as that father role, the rest of it, of course, they're just going to learn. It doesn't matter what it is in that case. So we see a lot of kids who like maybe wouldn't be in those positions if they had a role model like yourself to look after. So I find that even more admirable that you're a part of your community still in that way, where you're still working, and there are going to be kids who are going to come and say like, that's the fucking guy that knocked that other dude out with that flying knee, and you'll have this backstory. So I hope it all like works out, man. I want to see your career flourish. Like we need more people like you. We need more people like you, especially in this league. Aside from choking strippers out and fucking and just throwing dollies and all this other crazy shit. Beating up bouncers. I mean, we need regular, well-adjusted people out there. We need regular.
That's too much for me. That's too much.
It's too much. But yeah, man, that's basically all I had. Is there anything else you wanted to plug as far as like your coaching staff, or if you have your own sponsors or anything like that?
Yeah. My head coach, Dana Hurtado, he's my striking coach also. He teaches me to, he puts me in a great mindset as how to be a man as well as how to be a great, try and be a great fighter and a great human being. My head wrestling coach, Mamu Goma, he wrestled in the Egyptian Greco World Team. Man, like, I love that guy. He loves me, and we have like a great bond, and he just believes in me so much. So when I go out there to perform, a lot of it's me wanting to perform for him as well and, make him proud. Ybor City Jiu-Jitsu Club, my black belt, Joey Best, he's, I've known him since I was 18 years old. He's a small guy, so everything's very technical. Everything, he teaches me, I take to heart, and, I believe a lot of the things he says, so I appreciate him. My agent, Daniel Rubenstein, he's the one who got me this fight. He actually texted me while we're on here now about something, so I'll probably call him in a second. He's a great guy. He lives in Vegas. I met him for the first time when I went to go do the promos for the fights, and then also he came to my fight, so that was pretty cool. My sponsor, Angry Elephant Tattoos, they've helped me in a big way, leading up to this fight, in this camp. And Gene Farmer and his wife, Beth Farmer, I can't thank them any enough. And I had tons of other people who contributed money to my camp. There's so many names that I just can't even name all of them, but they're going to be getting something from me in the future, or pretty soon here. And also my mom, I got to thank my mom, for taking care of me all these years and, making the sacrifice, and, hopefully it's all starting to pay off now. And then my girlfriend's always dealing with me, with whatever, she complains about, my dirty clothes or all the dishes that I have in the sink, but she cleans them anyway most of the time. So, I appreciate her. And, I love her so much. So, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out your mom too. Your mom's your number one fan. Without her, you're not going to be the man you are today. And I think it's important for people to see out there, like, single moms out there are capable of, like, doing anything and being the strong role models that we need in order to move forward and do the right thing. So shouts out to, is her last name Mrs. Cruz?
Yep, Rosalinda Cruz.
Rosalinda Cruz. Shouts out to Rosalinda Cruz. Shouts out to my mother too. She put up with my shit for many years too. She didn't have to. She did it. All the single moms out there. But thank you again, Mr. Cruz. I'm so happy that you're able to take your time out of your, I'm sure, way hectic. Your year's going to get way more hectic, way more crazy. We may never talk again. I don't know. You might not want to do Skype interviews anymore. You might only be in studio guy only. You know what I mean? You might get the thunder shades. You might get the mink. I don't know. But later on when you're down the line, or if you're ever in New Jersey, reach out to me. I'm always here. My mom lives very close to Tampa. I do want to check out that facility. Maybe one day I'll come visit you too as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's it, man. Catchweight update.